Welcome to Joydala Fashion Guide. In today's video, we are going to be practicalizing how to draft an off-shoulder bodice pattern with a Basque waistline and then with a small sleeve. There are different types of sleeve for an off-shoulder. For example, I'm wearing an off-shoulder. You can see I have a bare kind of sleeve. So in this tutorial, we're looking at the small sleeve, just like the one we have on the picture that I will be showing you shortly. It's a small sleeve, the one that you can cut with 2.5 inches. So let's get right into the video. Welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be drafting an off-shoulder basic bodice with a sleeve and a Basque waistline. These are the measurements we'll be working with. We'll work with a round shoulder of 46, across chest 17, bust 40, under bust 35, waist 38, hip 46. They are all in inches. Our bust span, we'll be working with a bust span of 8 inches. The across the chest 17 inches, we'll be dividing it by 2. That will give us 8.5, and then we'll subtract 2 from that to get 6.5. That is what we are going to be using as our neckline. The bust measurements, the under bust, the waist and the hip, will be dividing each of them by 4 inches because our fabric are usually folded into 4, 2 parts for the front and 2 parts for the back, so we'll be dividing it by 4. The bust span measurement is 8 inches. You can watch my previous video on how to calculate bust span measurements. It can also be gotten by using the tape on the customer directly from one nipple to another nipple. So it is 8 inches. We divide that by 2 and then we add seam allowance. 8 divided by 2 is 4 plus 0.5 inch seam allowance. We are going to be making use of 4.5 inches. The shoulder to bust point that we are working with is 11. Shoulder to under bust 15. Shoulder to waist 18 inches. And then we'll be making use of a top length of 23 inches. So that we'll be able to create our Basque waistline. For the sleeve, we'll be making use of a sleeve length of 2.5 inches. We are making use of around the arm of 14 inches. When this time, we'll be dividing that by 2 to have 7. We'll show you when it's time to cut the sleeve. Our armhole depth, the armhole depth is 8 inches. There's a formula for armhole depth. Armhole depth is bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So for this tutorial, the bust is 40. So 40 divided by 6 plus 1.5. So that is how we approximated. That is how we got these 8 inches. In my previous video, I taught how to draft a basic bodice pattern for an off shoulder. If you have not watched that video, you can watch the video. But for these tutorials, we will not be drafting the from the shoulder. We are going to be using 5 inches off. So that is where we are going to be starting from. I hope you understand. We are using 5 inches off. I've explained that before. This is our basic bodice. You determine how much off you want from your shoulder. You can use 4.5, you can use 5 or 5.5. So for this tutorial, we are using 5 inches. And if you are going to be modifying the basic bodice pattern to an off-shoulder pattern, it's very easy. If you already have an off-shoulder pattern, just mark the 5 inches that you are going to be taking off and then adjust this line, this shoulder line here, this off-shoulder line. You adjust it by subtracting 2 inches from it and then creating a new armhole. That is if you are modifying your basic bodice pattern. But for this tutorial, we are going to be drafting direct. So this is our off shoulder line. We are using 5 inches off. So this is the 5 inches off. I'm going to mark all the vertical lines first. Shoulder to bust, point 11. Please note I am not adding sewing allowance to all these measurements. When you are drafting to your fabric, you can add 0.5 inch sewing allowance. So I'm using 11. Shoulder to under bust 15. shoulder to waist 18, and then we are using the top length as 23. So I'll just repeat here again so that we can have a straight line. Shoulder to bust point, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist, and then the top length. So use our long ruler. So go ahead to label that. This is our bust line. This is our under bust. This is our waistline, and this is our top length. So our cross chest said is 17 inches. We divide that by 2 and then we subtract 8.5. So from this our folded edge, we'll mark the 8.5, we'll subtract 2, so we'll have 6.5. So from this edge we are going to mark 6.5. That's 6.5. Now to get the chest line, we are going to form this curve. There are 2 ways to do that. It is either you go above your bust point by 2 inches, or you use the armhole depth. The armhole depth is 8 inches. So you place your, remember it's 5 inches off. So you place your tape to be on the 5 inches. And then you mark the 8 inches. You see that? So this is our chest line. And then on this chest line, we'll mark our bust circumference divided by 4. We are working with a bust of 40. Divided by 4, that will give us 10. This 10. And then with the French curve, mark the armhole. Next thing that we are going to do now is to put in the darts. The bust span is 8 inches. We say we are dividing that by 2 and add the same allowance to have 4 inches. So on the bust line, we mark the 4.5 inches. We also mark that on the under bust and then on the waist, so that we can have a straight line. We use our ruler to connect that. On this chest line, I'll extend this line, this bust span, I'll extend it up. So I also mark the 4.5 there. On this bust line, I'll go up by 1 inch and also come down by 1 inch. This to allow freeness. We want here to be free when we are cutting our pattern. At this top part, we'll take ½ inch on both sides. half inch. Then use our ruler to connect it to this point. We are going to be cutting this part out. Now, because we have taken out the dart from here, it is going to shorten this place. So this is a 1 inch dart. We'll be adding it back here. 1 inch. I'll also increase this length here by 1 inch. So this will be our new armhole. We will no longer be using this. On the underbust, we'll be taking a dart of 1 inch on both sides. We'll do same for the waistline. I'll use a ruler to connect this line. Just to be sure that the lines are correct. And then we use our French curve. So you use your French curve such that it will blend into this line here. So place your French curve everywhere. Yes, this. You see that? You do same here. Blend it into this line. We are going to be cutting here out. So be cutting here. This is going to have a back waistline. So normally from the waist, to be able to mark the back waist, you come down from the waist by 5 inches. And that is what I have here, 5 inches. And then you use a slant from the waistline to this point. Okay, so I'll first of all impute our measurements, and then I will not take the slant line from here to the waist. Bust 40 divided by 4, you have 10 inches. You mark your 10 inches. We are using 2 inch sewing allowance. This armhole, you still need a sewing allowance for it, so you can also mark the 2 inches sewing allowance. Under the bust, 35 divided by 4, you have 8.75. So you mark your 8.75. Then the darts that we have taken 2 inches darts, you replace it. And then you now add the sewing allowance. The waist measurement divided by 4. This dart 2 inches, and then 2 inches allowance. So to fold your paper, sorry I didn't tell you that from the beginning, you use the highest measurement that you have divided by 4 and add 4 inches extra, so that you'll be able to fold the block. Okay, so you just connect these lines and then you draw out the backs from the armhole to the bust, from there to the underbust to the waist, You can also watch my video on how to draft a basic bodice pattern for an off shoulder that will get that the dart will extend to the hip side. So you can watch my video on that. But for this is a back waistline, so that is why it's going to end here. So let's mark this. So you can extend this line down. You can extend this line. I'll be cutting all this off. The neckline, we'll be leaving it like this. It's just a straight neckline. But if, depending on your style, you can decide to come down here by ½ inch and create a kind of a curve. Or you can decide to have a sweetheart neckline. If you want to have a sweetheart neckline, you come down by 1½ or 2 inches and then use your French curve, you know, to mark it out. But we are not doing it. We are not doing a sweetheart neckline. We just want the straight neckline. If you look at that picture, the neckline is just straight. So we'll cut out our pattern. Don't forget, when you are transferring to fabric, you need to add allowance. Okay, add allowance to it. For this, I'm just cutting the exact measurements for this down part. If you are transferring, add allowance to this down part, add allowance to the upper parts as well. Okay, like this. We already have enough allowance, so 2 inches allowance. You can also pin your pattern so that it doesn't shift. So this is what we have. So you can notch this point so that you don't have a problem when you are joining it back. You can notch it. And also notch here. Notch where you have the lines. So that will serve as a guide when you want to change. So when it's time for you to join it, you make sure that here this place or this point match, this point and this point match, and this point and this point also match. Okay, so you now have like this. Same thing here. Just make sure that they match. At this point and this point. By the time you finish sewing, you can always trim out the excess that you have. So that is the pattern. I'll go ahead now to show us the sleeve. I won't be drafting the back pattern, but I will just explain it with this. For the back bodies, your fabric will be folded into two. You have the zipper allowance, and then you took 5 inches off. You will also take 5 inches off. If you have your basic bodice pattern, regular basic bodice, you can convert it. You take 5 inches off. Use your ruler to mark that. Okay, and then this neckline, I use 6.5. 6.5. Then you can add your sewing allowance of 1/2 inch. So this part becomes the new, let's call the new arm hole, and then mark 10 inches here. And draw your ruler. I use dotted lines. So that's just all for the back pattern. This is the same dart you are using. You put in your bust span, then on the waistline take 1/2 inch on both sides. On the bust line you go up by 1 inch, and then from there you roll out this dart. That's just all. Then you cut from here like this. Cut here, and of course put in your bust measurement plus your sewing allowance, the waist measurement plus this dart, and then the sewing allowance. So you now cut from here to here, and that will be the back bodice. So let's go to the sleeve. We are using a sleeve of 2.5 inches length. The sleeve length is 2.5. Then the around arm is 14. We'll divide that by 2 to have 7. Because you are going to be making use of 2 sleeves, 2.5 plus another 2.5, that will give us 5 inches. So we have that is what we have. You have 2.5 inches. But note that when you want to cut your fabric, you need to add 0.5 inch sewing allowance for the upper side and for the down side. So instead of 2.5, you will cut 3.5. Okay, take note of that. I'm not adding allowance to this. So I'm cutting both sleeves together. Before I cut here open, now how do you know how much you are going to leave here? Remember that our round shoulder measurement, the round shoulder measurement is 46 inches. The round shoulder. that is like this, is 46 inches. And then we've already gotten the front parts of the bodies. We search from here to here. Okay, we've already gotten that. And from our measurement, we use 6.5. So 6.5, our fabric is unfold. 6.5 plus 6.5 will give us 13. So that means the front, we are having 13 inches, and it is same for the back. The back is also 13 inches. Remember that the sewing allowance is on, we are not counting that to it because it's separated, the zipper allowance. So 13 inches for the front neckline 13, back neckline 13, front neckline 13, back neckline 13, and that will give us 26. Then round shoulder is 46, so we'll subtract 26 from 46. We are going to have 20. So that means the amount we are going to use for the sleeve is 20. And because the sleeve is going to be on both sides, we'll divide that 20 by 2 to have 10. So that means we are going to use 10 for this side and 10 for this side. Remember that is a small sleeve, so you have 10. Okay, so by the time you fold it like this, this is we are going to fold it, you now have 5. So that is this 5 that you are now going to work with on fold. So this is what I mean. Get the fabric or fold. We'll mark 5 inches, and then we add 0.5 inch sewing allowance, so 5.5. So your original measurement is 5. So that by the time you have 5, when you now fold it, you know it's on fold, you now have 10. So we are using 10 for one side and 10 for the other side. So by the time you now add 10 plus 10, you now have 20. Then by the time you now add it to the front neckline, which is 13, and the back neckline, which is also 13, 26, we will now have the round shoulder 46. So it will now be complete. So this is what I mean. You have the 5 plus 0.5 inch sewing allowance, and then this damp side of it will be longer than this upper side, so that it can fit into the armhole. See that this armhole, the armhole is not straight, so that it can fit into it. We are going to have a curve here, just like we have here. The armhole will have a small curve. So to get that, our around arm is 14. We divide 14 by 2, we'll have 7. So on this down side, we mark 7. See, we have 7 here, and then you also add allowance. So the allowance you have here is just 0.25. So we'll just make use of that. You can add 0.25 to 0.5 allowance. So from here to here now, we'll mark out the curve. So let's cut it out to see what it looks like. See, you should be able to fit it to here. To fit it to here. You can even place this on it. You see it's a cut. You see, just cut it. You see it. So let's separate it and see what we have. Remember that they are for 2 sleeves, so we'll cut here open. So don't forget, when you are transferring this part of the fabric, add allowance 0.5 up, 0.5 down. So let's see what the pattern looks like. This for this side. This is for this side. So you have this for this for this, this for this, this for this. So I'll quickly get my pins and pin it and show you what it looks like. So this is what we have after pinning it. So this is the sleeve part. You see that the sleeve, this is for the back. This will connect the back. This side will also connect the back. So from here you're supposed, these are around bodies 46. From here you're supposed to have 23. So from here, you see the sleeve is 5. These are front lines supposed to be 13. Remember that we didn't cut out sewing allowance. So you're having 12 because we did not add sewing allowance here, so you're having 12. So if you, from here, half of the body from here, you see that by the time you add the sewing allowance, you just have 23. So from here 23, the back 23. So the round the body will be completed 56. So these are our shoulder pattern. I've used pins to pin it to do this. Remember that these are just paper. Trying to be careful not to cut. So we want a straight neckline. So this is the same sleeve. This is so that is our off shoulder pattern. So we have come to the end of this class. I hope you find this video helpful. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, and I hope to see you again in another video.